Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from somewhere in the panhandle of Texas.
In the panhandle?
This is the panhandle. That's the northern part, right
Over the
outside
panhandle.
Amarillo. This
right.
is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Texas. Things are bigger here. Things are better here. How are you, Kastuba?
Doing all right, Raghu?
Did an all-night drive last night. Feeling good. Took a little nap.
You really drove all night?
I drove till midnight, slept for 4
Midnight
hours.
Texas time or midnight New York
I don't
time?
know. Don't try to hold me to exact things. I drove till midnight-ish, slept for 4 hours on the side of the road, woke up, slept for another hour somewhere else down the road, and woke up just in time for the show.
Okay.
Yeah. It's 8 o'clock. Wait, what time is it?
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock New York time, 6 o'clock your
My
time.
computer's set to New York time, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, how are you, brother?
Good, Raghu. What kind of road is that? Some kind of they have different names for roads in Texas. Like there's always a road that runs along the highway. What do they call that?
The
Like
service
access
roads.
Service road.
Service road. This is
How
sort of a
that is?
dirt road off. Oh my God. You guys are going to see the sunrise.
Oh.
Oh, it's time to chant your Gayatri here because the sun is coming. You can't see it from your vantage point, but it is like a massive
I can
red
just see it
ball
peeking
coming
up now.
right behind me.
I can just see it starting to peak up, Raghunath.
I love the fact that we've done so many shows in weird places. It's like bringing you guys with me on all my ridiculous adventures.
Here comes the
But you
sun.
know what? I will say, Prabhu,
Yeah.
it's been so nice just to be alone on the road. I'm never alone. I'm never alone.
But you're on the phone the entire time.
Well, that, and I'm listening to lectures and
Okay. Little Gordon Lightfoot.
little Gordon Lightfoot. Why did we get into Gordon Lightfoot? But you got me singing Gordon Lightfoot.
Because
for
you're
some reason.
passing somewhere near Lake Superior and that song
Oh,
came
yeah.
up.
Lake Gitchigumi, which is Lake Superior.
On the
That's right.
lake that they call Gitchigumi.
That's right. So anyway, it's been nice. Been like thinking, reflecting, talking to nice devotees on the phone. I just had a great long conversation with Doyle Garunga yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All good with
Okay.
you?
Huh?
All good with you?
Yeah, it's good. Let's get this
Let's
moving.
dive in. Okay. We got a nugget for people today. Mary, you got any announcements before I dive into this nugget?
Yes, we have back to recovery group meetings today at 1 and 2 p.m. Eastern time and a men's meeting at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And the show will be at this time all week, 8 a.m. Eastern time.
Okay, great. Hey, Californians in the Southern California area, I will be teaching life lessons from the Ramayana at Veda Yoga in Culver City, Los Angeles, California. If you're interested, you can go to their website, vedayoga.com, or just Google that up. It's Friday evening. That's the only thing I'm doing out here.
Okay.
All right. Here's the nugget.
Who's it from?
This is from one of your favorites and mine,
Mhm.
Napoleon Bonaparte.
Oh yes.
Actually, I think I like Napoleon Dynamite better than Napoleon Bonaparte, but I'll give you. Ready?
Yeah.
The strong man
Mhm.
is the one who is able to intercept at will the
Okay.
communication between the senses and the mind. This is Napoleon Bonaparte speaking.
Yeah.
The strong man is the one who is able to intercept at will the communication between the senses and the mind. This is Bhagavad Gita 101.
Yeah, basically. We might frame it just slightly different to be precise, but certainly he's onto something there, right?
Yeah. Taking a step back from the senses, I had these realizations as a young teen too. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I going to do this? Every time I eat this type of food, if you eat junk food when you're a teenager, the first time you like have some money in your pocket, you got a job, and my mom would never buy junk food, and then I would be like, I'm gonna buy the junk food mom never buys, and then it was sort of like, why do I feel gross every time I eat junk food? There was a disconnect, and after a while, you just started realizing, oh, it's not nourishing me. It's making me feel horrible, but I'm buying it, and I want to buy it, and I can't stop eating it once I eat it. It's just like eating Fritos or Doritos or all those addictive chips. Like, there's a point where you're loving it. Then there's a point where you're like, okay, this is good in the mouth, but I don't feel well. Then there's a point like, I don't even want to do this anymore, but I can't stop. It's like the beginning stages of, or it's like the shadow of like a hardcore addiction is, junk food and chips.
Mm.
Mm?
Yeah. I mean, we would say he's saying between the senses and the mind. And I suppose we don't see it exactly like that, but the same idea. In other words, we accept that the mind actually operates on three different levels, right? It's got three different, you could say if the mind is a computer, that it has three different applications. And and that computer of the mind is connected to the senses, right? The eyes, the ears, and all of that. And so he's saying that there's this communication between the senses and the mind. And we would say that the application within the mind that the senses are directly connected to is called the manas, which we could say is like the impulsive mind, right? It directly interfaces with the senses. It responds impulsively, like automatically. There's no reflective thought here. There's no reasoning taking place. It's just receiving data from the senses. It'll transmit that data to the rest of the mind. But most relevant, about this manas is that it's programmed with automatic responses of either, like or dislike, attraction and repulsion to whatever the senses are experiencing or drawing from. And so, but what I think what he's getting at is the way the yogis would say it is that there's another application in the mind, and that's called the buddhi, which is like, you could say it's the reasoning, the rational filter in the mind, right? And so getting that, whatever's that manas is engaging with, whatever our impulsive mind is engaging with, saying, I like this, the senses brought in this, I want that, I don't want that, I want to avoid this, I want more of that. The buddhi is serving as a rational filter. It's bringing reasoning into the equation. It's able to weigh, is this advantageous or is this disadvantageous? And the course, the old analogy that's used in the Katha Upanishad is that if the body is a chariot and the horses are the senses, then the reins are the impulsive mind, and the buddhi or the intellect is the driver, right? That rational filter is the driver. It's meant to get control of the senses and the manas, so that you can direct the path of the soul, or the path that the soul takes, right?
Yeah, people will ask, well, how do you get intelligence? Intelligence comes from absorbing the mind in wisdom literature.
Yeah,
that's how you get it.
Yeah, apply that reasoning faculty, right?
What's that?
Inform and engage that reasoning faculty.
Sure. And I find like a lot of the work we do in our sadhana bhakti, a regulated spiritual practice, is going right through the senses, like overriding the senses, bypassing the senses, and going right to the intelligence and training the intelligence. This stuff that doesn't feel good, this is good. Retraining the mind. The stuff that doesn't feel good is the good. The stuff that is indulgent of the senses, that's gonna feel bad. Take note. And so when we do things, we actively go out of our way and do things that are hard, do things that are tough. Austerity, focus, waking up early, controlling the senses, controlling the mind. And this is like the magic of any type of discipline, physical discipline. And it also makes you really resilient when you actually learn to like deal with cold weather, cold showers, cold, fasting, rising early, sitting in one place and chanting. Like that's enough to drive most people crazy. If people are new to chanting, sometimes they say, I think I'm going to lose my mind. It's like, I've got to sit here and just not do anything and just chant here. And it's this type of like simple disciplines that sort of like, you get a taste for them after a while. I was telling I think I've told you before, like one of my older kids, my stepkids, I had him in a summer camp when he was 14. First thing they did was put you in a, what are those called, Mara, when they sit you in the woods and around a circle, like a
circle.
Like a circle. You sit within a vision quest.
Oh,
A
yeah.
vision quest. So they put you in a circle and you just sit there alone for 24 hours and you
Oh.
fast and you can't eat anything and you can't leave that circle. And so you go a little stir crazy. You start looking around and you walk in the circle, but you just sit eventually. And what you're doing is you're just doing everything we do in the yoga process, which is letting the virtues of the mind settle, and all these little things. Then he did this other thing the next day in this camp where the entire day was blindfolded. So they had to hike blindfolded. The leader wasn't blindfolded, but all the kids were blindfolded.
Mhm.
And it's these type of sort of austerities of taking away what's easy and doing what's hard makes the intelligence strong and gives us a taste for some subtle type of pleasure that's not there. And what's that subtle pleasure? Sitting in that circle, you start to learn how to become peaceful and deal with your thoughts and not be antsy and not be impulsive. Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
good. It's a good thing. The Bhagavad Gita's got going. Glad we're part of
is.
it.
Yeah,
Glad we're part of it.
There's this kind of key message, in yoga, right? That if the intellect is strong, if the buddhi, if the reasoning faculty in the mind is strong, well informed, inclined towards yogic wisdom, and if you can habituate that application as the most influential application within the mind, more influential than the impulsive part of the mind, more influential than the ego, right?
Yeah.
Then it can take like firm hold of that impulsive mind and gain control of the senses. And rather than getting pulled in whatever directions they demand, we can begin to take control, right? And as you said, you said like you begin to develop a taste for
It becomes
austerity.
fun.
You begin to develop a taste for what is healthy, for what is yogic. Even when in the past it seemed austere, you begin to like to wake up early in the morning. You begin to like a simple diet. You begin to like sitting quietly alone and meditating. Because you've reprogrammed the impulsive mind now. Now the impulsive mind actually becomes your friend rather than your enemy. It's actually pulling you in the right direction, and that's when yoga starts to become natural and easy for someone.
And when the impulsive mind or the intelligence, when that becomes very strong, then that becomes the leader, and you sort of walk with it. You walk with what I think a way to look at it, or the way I look at it, is the trained intelligence walks with the soul, hand in hand. They work very well together. And that's what we're doing with sadhana bhakti, is we're like almost like using a cane or a walking stick or training wheels, whatever analogy you want to use, until all of a sudden our choices of wisdom, of choices of truth, of choices of reality versus illusion. And all of a sudden that Supersoul is actually directing us now. Before, the Supersoul was directing us, but I was like fighting against it.
Yeah.
Because the senses were at it. Well, the senses and
Had
the
their
twisted
demands.
mind was master.
Yeah, right.
I like this. I like this analogy.
Okay.
Good nugget, Napoleon.
Thank you, Napoleon.
And tomorrow we'll do Napoleon Dynamite nugget.
I'm not sure what that is. That's a
Oh, you don't
comedy
know
or something?
Napoleon. This is like
Is that Jim Carrey?
My kids quote it every day.
Is that Jim Carrey? Or
It's
something?
one of those movies you watch and you just want to memorize the entire thing so you can quote every line of it. And it's all dumb.
Okay.
Not Jim Carrey. It's
I was
really-
like, yes, it's no, we don't want to quote every. Yes, it is all dumb. All right. Are you ready? You ready to get in the show?
It's a cross between a liger and a lion and a tiger.
You don't have
liger.
to. Illustration not required. You ready?
Okay. Somebody put a good Napoleon Dynamite quote on the message board so I can
We're going
read
to move beyond that,
it.
Raghunath.
Ryan, I'm the Muskutyanaram Chaivanarottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatojayam Mudirayat. Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes of the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Midatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. All right, Mr. Kastiba.
Yeah.
I don't have Mara here to pull up the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Well, I can
This-
do that.
I can tell you where
Mara's
we
on it.
are.
Mara's on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Reading from Canto 6, Chapter 2, Text 26.
Okay. Yeah. So, Ajamila is kind of like everybody's pulled out now. The Yamadutas left, right? They were
Yep.
there trying to pull his soul out of his body to drag him down to the darker regions of the universe and expose him to hellish punishments as the just karmic response to his previous life of debauchery. And but the Yamadutas came, the messengers of Lord Vishnu came. They said, no, stop. You guys don't understand the law. Just like there in Texas, the law is an important thing down there, right, Raghu?
Law is very important here in Texas. You Yanks don't know about it.
so the Vishnu Dutas came and said, you don't understand the law. You understand part of the law, but you don't understand the higher part of the law, right? You kind of understand certain things about the more mundane dharmic teachings, but you don't understand the higher dharmic teachings, which have to do with direct connection, the personal relationship and direct connection and the divine mercy of Sri Krishna, of Lord Vishnu. You seem to be unaware of that. Don't you get it? He chanted the name of Lord Vishnu, right at the end. Don't you get it? The power of that? Don't you understand the spiritual potency in that eradicated, that itself was an atonement for years and even lifetimes of bad karma that he had accumulated. This is a whole nother league. You guys don't get it. So the Yamadutas, the Vishnu Dutas, they kind of overrode the authority of the Yamadutas, who kind of left with their tails between their legs, in a sense, to go. Why don't you just chill out there with the camera? Okay,
Sorry.
just choose one angle. That'll
Sorry,
be fine.
I'm distracted.
It's great.
I was
It's
sitting in that
you
car
gotta-
forever. I'm like sort of like fidgety. I'm
It's-
throwing my leg up in the
I think
car.
we need to get you sitting down or something like that. You know, you're like a June bug down there. Just
I'm like a big black Texas beetle.
Okay.
All
I
right,
always
go on.
remember. Do you remember? Did you know that devotee? And it was the squirrel time. Did you know the devotee? Oh, I can't remember his name. He was from Atlanta. Nirguna. Did you know Nirguna?
I didn't know him.
He was a great soul. He passed away in Mayapur, like a long time ago. But it's a really sweet devotee, and he grew up in Louisiana.
Oh yeah.
And I remember that I met his parents once.
Yeah.
And we were talking. You got to get closer to the mic, Gregor. And we were talking about Nirguna, who was kind of like a real active guy, you know. And he said, "Yeah, Wade." His uninitiated name was Wade. You know, I said, "Wade always was a jitterbug." people just move a little more slow down there in Louisiana, you know.
Yeah, I love when Kastuba squirrels, don't you, Mara?
Okay. Yeah, jitterbug. You a bit of a jitterbug yourself there,
I'm a
Rogan.
little bit of a jitterbug myself.
Okay.
All right, where are we, sir?
So now the Yama dude is left, the Vishnu dude is left, and like, and you can imagine what Ajamila was like. Whoa! I just almost got dragged to hell, and then like these most beautiful angelic beings came and saved me. They disappeared, and now he's there. You know, it kind of dealing with the with what just happened. And let's read 24 and 25 again.
By the way, this is very analogous to a lot of our lives. A lot of our lives, we were living in hell on earth, but a hellish place on earth. And then we met some devotees. I've met people who've met devotees when they were in like a drunken state. I've met people who've met devotees at when they were at the lowest times of their life.
Yeah.
I've met people who've met devotees when they were just sort of like on the streets partying, you know. And then all the devotees are like the Vishnu Dutas. They come in, they go into your universe.
Yeah.
They grab you by the wrist.
They really do.
And they like, and then I just recently read something like that. Somebody was telling me like they met devotees at a young age and they thought, whoever these people are, I want to be like them. To touch them deeply. So maybe we could all see ourselves as Ajamila.
Well, we're going to hear about Ajamila now, how he responds to this experience. So it's really great. So
right. What text are we on?
Text 26.
Okay.
Should I read or you got it?
I got it up now.
Okay.
Ajamila said, "Alas, being a servant of my senses, how degraded I became. I fell down from my position as a duly qualified Brahmana and begot children in the womb of this prostitute." Yeah. Oh, now he talks bad about her.
Yeah. It wasn't her fault. It was your fault.
Yeah, it's her fault.
No, but he's actually condemning himself. He's not condemning her. You'll see as we go on. And now we start to get to kind of part of the real issue here, how he treated his family, how you can go on. Text 27.
Alas, all condemnation upon me. Fie! I acted so sinfully that I degraded my family tradition. Right?
Yeah.
Indeed, I've given up my chaste and beautiful wife to have sexual intercourse with a fallen prostitute accustomed to drinking wine. All condemnation upon me.
So there was someone that was dharmic in his life, that was responsible, that was committed, right?
Yeah.
He just threw it all away. And obviously that created problem for her in her life. You know, he didn't care. Bad karma.
Bad karma.
Adharma.
Sometimes we get attracted to people that are not good for us.
Yeah.
Poor Mara over there. She was so peaceful, and then she met me. But sometimes
it is kind of peaceful over here back in upstate New York now, knitting away quietly.
But it's true. And what is it? It's one of the wandering senses. We call it in America, we call it our beer goggles. We're seeing things, whatever. We're falling in love with people, or we're thinking with our lower chakras, or whatever it is, or we're getting attracted to people that we know are not good for us. And then we do something stupid, and that's the problem with getting physical too quick with the person. Is you get intimate with them, because there's something about being intimate physically with a person that it sort of connects you with them, and then you're sort of like magnetically bound to this person. And they've sort of like invaded some of your sacred space, and vice versa. You've invaded some of theirs. And sometimes we can't get out of a relationship like that, even though we may even know like this is not good for me.
Yeah,
it's a problem. This was Ajamila.
Okay.
Got into it, sort of liked it, couldn't get out of it.
He continues. Text 28.
Text 28. My father and mother were old and had no other son or friend to look after them. Because I did not take care of them, they live with great difficulty, just abandoning the parents.
Yeah.
Alas, like an abominable low-class man, I ungratefully left them in that condition. This is the life of regret. These are our options, like step up to the plate or live a life of like, why didn't I do this?
And stepping up to the plate is like going to what Napoleon was saying, right? Getting between the senses, and the rest of your reasoning faculty, and getting control of it, not being controlled by the senses, but getting control of the senses.
And if we're one of these people that are like still like really struggling with these things, it's really important to hear this. It's really important because what's happening is Ajamila is mapping this out. He's saying, look, you can't think it through. Let me share you my story. You're not going to think it through. You're still attached to your senses and your mind and these low class activities. Hear my story. And if we think out these attachments that we have, where are they going to lead us? Like, when is a good time to let go of these things?
You know where they're going to lead him? Straight to hell. That's where.
Straight to hell. That's where they're going to lead them.
That's where the next verse gets into. The Yamaduta is going to drag you straight down to hell. I remember I was out there, another squirrel, Raghunath. Oh man.
Okay.
But you're in Texas, so I was once presenting Srila Prabhupada's books to the public.
Are you going to tell the famous book distribution story, Kaustubha?
I don't know which one is famous, but I have one.
The one where you got arrested?
No. That's a Texas cop one, but that's a different thing. No, I was in Lubbock, Texas.
I'm not far from Lubbock.
Yeah, Lubbock.
We played.
And I was at a Marilyn Manson concert.
Let the people understand. He wasn't there enjoying Marilyn Manson. He was in the parking lot distributing sacred literature to Marilyn Manson.
The fans of Marilyn Manson would be ripe to buy a Bhagavad Gita. Only who knows, but they were.
Yeah, I bet they would. Marilyn Manson's people.
They were. Yeah. But what happened was, because it was Texas.
Did you dress goth? Did you dress like a devotee? Did you dress normal? How did you dress?
I just dressed like a normal guy.
Okay.
But you had this gauntlet to get into the concert, like in the parking lot. You had to pass through a gauntlet of like Westboro Baptist Church evangelical types.
Oh, interesting.
And they were just screaming at all these goth kids that are going into the concert. You're going to hell.
Yeah, that's not so attractive to the kids.
and the kids were just yelling straight back. They were just doing everything they could to like get the Manson is God. Manson, it's just like, God. It was just like, come on, people. It doesn't have to be like this.
And then you come in very soberly. Yeah, Manson isn't God.
Manson is not God.
Many paths to God. Let me share.
Let me share. Yeah. Trying to be a voice of reason in the polarity there. Okay. Yeah,
that is you. You are the voice of reason.
I was trying to be. Okay. So now we're going to hear about how that kind of action, that kind of thinking, that kind of lack of control.
It's the domino. He saw the prostitute, and that was the first domino, and he got attached to her. Then there was that trigger.
Yeah.
That first domino went down, and now he's abandoned his parents. His parents who took care of him, raised him. Indian culture, this is very big. You don't abandon your parents.
Yeah.
American culture, we abandon our parents.
No problem.
12, we're like out of the house. But the idea is, what are you doing? These are your old parents. They took care of you, and you're vulnerable. You're going to let them go now and not care for them. So he's feeling this remorse, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Text 29. It is now clear that as a consequence of such activities, such a person like me must be thrown into hellish conditions meant for those who have broken dharmic principles and must suffer extreme miseries. Generally, and I will say, if you break these dharmic codes, you're not just suffering in hell. Your life becomes hell. You've complicated your life so much, it becomes hellish on this planet. But there is also repercussions afterlife. They're lessons. If you haven't learned your lessons now, you learn them in your afterlife.
Okay.
Text 30. Was this a dream I saw, or was it reality?
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? I'm the squirrel guy today.
Man with ropes, man with fangs, messy hair, long nails.
Okay. I shouldn't have done it. Text 30, go ahead. Was this a dream?
Imagine
was it
making
real?
this whole Ajamila story into a Queen song.
You could. You totally could. It could be Bohemian Rhapsody. Okay, go ahead. Was this a dream?
Vishnu, ooh, I don't want to die. Okay. Was this a dream I saw, or was it reality? I saw fearsome men with ropes in their hands coming to arrest me and drag me away. Where have they gone? And where have those 4 liberated, very beautiful persons gone who released me from arrest and saved me from being dragged down to those hellish regions? I am certainly most abominable and unfortunate to have merged in an ocean of sinful, backwards, twisted activities. But nevertheless, because of my previous spiritual activities, I could see those 4 exalted personalities who came to rescue me. Now I feel excitingly happy because of their visit.
Wow.
This happens to people too. They get really into devotional service, and sometimes they just go away for what seems like forever. And there's an anchor of Krishna in their heart that they cannot get away from. Like Krishna has still not relinquished them. He's just waiting with them as they have to go through the hell of Maya. Do you know the Sanskrit words?
For what?
I can say the English word, but they're really true. When you fall into, after practicing bhakti and getting into it and being inspired by it, if for some reason you fall away from the path, there's 2 potencies of Maya. One is the covering potency, where you start to think, you start to think the material world, you know what? I was too uptight. The material world's not so bad. These devotees were all fanatical. This new liberated version of me is so much better. That's the covered potency. So Maya covers you, and then Maya starts kicking you. I don't know the Sanskrit for that. If you know the Sanskrit, maybe Nityananda can put it on.
If I could pull it up.
The covering and the kicking potency. And it's in that, it's getting beat down. And there's nothing more horrible than getting beat down when you know better. It's one thing the material world beats you down. You're like, material world, I'll get over it. But when you know better and you're doing something wrong and you're getting some reaction for it, it's like, oh, you struggle. Oh, Krishna, what have I done? How did I get here, Krishna? Anyway.
Text 32.
Covering and kicking. Note that down, people. Okay. Text 32. I am certainly most abominable and unfortunate to have. I read that one.
I think we read that. 33.
Oh, okay, 33.
Were it not for my past bhakti, my past devotional service, how could I, a most unclean keeper of a prostitute, have gotten an opportunity to chant the holy name of Vaikuntha? That's the name for Vishnu, the father of Vaikuntha, Vaikuntha. When I was just ready to die, I was chanting Vaikuntha, Krishna, Lord Narayan's name, just when I was about to die. Certainly, it could not have been possible. Not impossible, except for his past devotional service.
Okay.
Yeah. Ajamila continued. I'm shameless, a shameless cheater who has killed his Brahminical culture. Indeed, I am sin personified. Where am I in comparison to the all-auspicious chanting of the holy name of Lord Narayan? You know what this reminds me of?
Humility now. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what this reminds me of?
I don't.
I think I've mentioned this on the show before. Once I was coming back from pilgrimage alone, and I was on the plane with this Indian guy sitting next to me. And we didn't even take off yet, but I started introducing myself, and he was a businessman. He looked older than me, but he was probably younger, now that I think about it. And we were both heading to Newark. And we started talking, and I like to talk to Indians and find their background. And I said, yeah, I was on pilgrimage. He goes, oh, pilgrimage. And you could tell he had some attraction for pilgrimage. Where did you go? I says, oh, I was just up in the Himalayas at Dev Prayag, and we were bathing in Dev Prayag, and then we went to Haridwar. And he was so excited. And then I looked at him. I said, well, what do you do? He said, well, I'm in business. And what type of business? And he goes, well, and he started explaining his business. And I guess I talked about my life a little bit more and taking people on pilgrimage, going on pilgrimage and worshiping a deity and chanting the holy name. And so I really sort of talked my thing first. And then when it was his turn to talk, after he started explaining his business, he broke down in tears. This is before we even got off the tarmac. And he's like, Raghunath, I have fallen so far from my path. He goes, I've been to Tapovan. I've been to, Gangotri.
Those are way up.
Way up in the Himalayas above. I've been up there. He goes, Raghunath, the material world has taken me to such a dark place. You could just see this nice guy I don't even know the entire story, but this very nice, pious, cultured Brahmin, and the material world has taken him like a riptide takes a child, right? And takes him to this crazy dark place. And so, I don't know. I think for me, I learned a lesson by sitting with him, and perhaps sitting with me, he sort of perhaps got some little wake up thing too. But yes, this is Ajamila, what Ajamila's feeling, this deep lamentation, this deep regret. And who wants this in our life, or especially as we get older, closer to death? Today's the day to get serious.
All right.
What number are we on?
I think 35 now, right?
35, yeah.
I am such a sinful person. Me and Kostuba don't like that word sinful, but I'm saying it because that's how it's translated. But I've made such bad choices. How about that? I've made such bad choices. But since I've now gotten this opportunity, I must completely control my mind, life, and senses, and always engage in bhakti, devotional service, so that I may not fall again into the deep darkness of ignorance and material existence.
Material life, yeah.
Material life. Text 36 and 37.
Now he's going to start to speak philosophy now, right? Now he's going to start to speak about the yoga philosophy, about understanding how it works, about understanding how we get bound in this world. He knows his stuff. He's going to start.
And he's like, yeah, you're not in it alone. Here's my story. It's not pretty. I'm not proud of it. I'm filled with lamentation. It's not like I'm not old now. I'm like an old man still dying, but I've got this realization now. Because of identifying oneself with the body, one is subjected to desires for sense gratification, and thus one engages in many different types of pious and impious action.
Key to the universe right there.
Yep, that's it. This is the absolute truth. If anyone's ever like knelt down and said, God, please speak to me the absolute truth. I want to know. Tell me what truth is. Your prayers have been answered. Ajamila speaking the absolute truth. Because of identifying oneself with the body, one is subjected to desire for sense gratification, and thus one engages in many different types of pious and impious action.
If you knew you weren't your body, then you'd recognize that my sense is calling for this gratification is not my self-interest, right? It's just a programming that's separate from me.
Yeah.
All right, keep going.
This is what constitutes material bondage. Now I shall try to disentangle myself from my material bondage, which has been caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead's illusory energy in the form of this woman. Being most fallen soul, I was victimized. Or you were a volunteer, Ajamil. I was victimized. It wasn't me. I did nothing wrong. I think he needs.
Well, in other words, he was saying that there's something more powerful than himself operating, and
yes,
yeah, right.
These words don't work so much anymore, but we understand.
I was victimized by the.
I was victimized by material bondage. That's not Maya. Being a most fallen soul, I was victimized by the illusory energy and have become like a dancing dog led around by a woman's hand. When we're sexually attached to somebody, anybody, boy to boy, boy to girl, girl to boy, girl to girl, when you're so attached to another person, it's like you become a dancing dog.
Almost
right?
like shameless, right? It's
Shameless,
just
like, go here, go there, do this, do that.
Okay.
And you're like, okay, sure, whatever. Who wants that type of? I've been a dancing dog many times in my life. Sad to say. Being a
So this is showing how yoga knowledge, right? How it frees one from being controlled and how it allows you to take control.
right.
Being a most fallen
Being a-
soul,
Being a most fallen
I was
soul.
victimized,
I
dancing
was
dog.
victimized.
Yeah.
Okay. Blah, blah, blah.
Now I shall.
Now I shall give up these lusty desires and free myself from this illusion. I shall become merciful, well-wishing friend to all living entities, and always absorb my mind in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, we were talking a couple weeks ago how the standard model of success is that a successful person is expert at fulfilling their desires. Here's the
Right.
other model, right? No. The real successful person is the person that can modify their desires. You say, I'm going to give up these desires, right? I've got this program in my mind. I'm going to change that programming. I'm going to get serious about this, get control of this. Right?
Simply because I chanted the holy name of the Lord in the association of devotees, my heart is now becoming purified. Therefore, I shall not fall victim again to the false lures of material sense gratification. Now that I have become fixed in the absolute truth, henceforth, I shall not identify myself with the body. I shall give up all false conceptions of I and mine and fix my mind on the lotus feet of Krishna.
This is
That
important.
is really the root. That's the root identity of illusion. This is mine. I am the body. It's all about me. I, me, and mine is like, it's the mental construct of one who's fully engrossed in Maya.
Yeah. You know what this is called here, Raghunath? It's called sankalpa, right? Like I'm going to set an intention.
He's going to set, a deep intention of what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
That's important. It's like, I think, we often tend to just kind of float around in life and get pulled by our senses, this direction, that direction. And what you have to do is you set an intention. It's a yogic practice. It's called sankalpa, right? He's setting that clear intention right now. From now on, I'm doing like this.
Yeah. If you feel like you're a kite that's been cut, the string has been cut and floating. These are important lessons today. Like, set the intention. Who am I? When we ask ourselves this question, who am I? You'll get to this position, if you're really honest, that I'm just a pure spirit soul. That's what I am. I'm just a little covered, and and I might be floating. Once we realize and accept that as our identity, I'm not the career, I'm not a political party, I'm not an American or European or Indian. I'm a pure spirit soul. Then we get to the essential. What does the spirit soul have to do now in this world? Once you say, this is my identity, then you want to learn, now what do I do? And then we start to get focused. And then it's as if you catch that kite and you reel that kite in or pull that in. And we start to find, now I'm going to work in this world for liberation. Can't be floating.
You can't float. You hear, you assimilate the knowledge, but you just can't go on just to like being an appreciator of that knowledge.
Right. It'll kill you. That will kill you. It's like crossing a river with your feet in two different canoes. You'll be sad, and you'll never get over that sadness, and you'll want the world to bend to you. They'll be like, well, I don't want to be so extreme. Well, I don't want to be so fanatical. Well, I think there's a lot of room for this and that. You'll never be happy. You know too much. It's like you're in the mob now. You know too much. Your material life is dead. That's what happens when you learn too much.
So he set that intention. Okay, no, I'm going to change now. The knowledge is going to come alive in my life now. It's not just going to be something that I'm an armchair kind of philosopher or something like that. No. From this day on, henceforward, I shall not identify myself with my body. I shall give up the false conceptions of I and mine and fix my mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. That's, you got to make that determination. That can come through a formal ceremony like initiation, but this is important, to advance. You set an intention, you stick to it, and you get used to carrying out your intention, right? Not wavering, becoming strong and carrying out. Otherwise, you just flounder.
Mm.
All right.
All right, continuing on.
39.
Because of a moment's association with the devotees, the Vishnu Dutas, Ajamila detached himself from the material conception of life with determination. Thus freed from all material attraction, he immediately started for Hardwar. It gets exciting,
Yeah.
right?
That's it. I'm going to that holy place. Where he wants to be in the right place, in the right association.
Yeah.
He just went for it.
We're going to Hardwar on my pilgrimage. We're all getting determined and going to Hardwar. In Haridwar, Ajamil took shelter at a Vishnu temple where he executed the process of bhakti yoga. He controlled his senses and fully applied his mind in the service of the Lord. Isn't it amazing that this was before Vishnu, or this before Krishna appeared? People were still going to Haridwar for
Sure.
pilgrimage.
41.
He controlled his senses and fully applied his mind to the service of the Lord. Ajamil fully engaged in bhakti. Thus, he detached his mind from the process of sense gratification and became fully absorbed in thinking of the Lord, of the form of the Lord. Okay, so
he was achieving.
I guess he didn't die.
No, he didn't die. Then he
got a second chance here.
Yeah.
When his intelligence and mind were fixed upon the form of the Lord, the Brahman, Ajamil, once again saw before him 4 celestial persons.
Whoa.
They're back.
They're back. Imagine how great that must have been.
Oh, thank God it's you guys. I thought the other 4 were going to come. He could understand that they were those who he had seen previously, and thus he offered them his obeisances by bowing down before them. Upon seeing the Vishnu Dutas, Ajamil gave up his material body. Oh, I want to see the Vishnu Dutas. He gave up his material body at Hardwar on the bank of the Ganga. He regained his original spiritual body, which was a body appropriate for an associate of the Lord.
4-armed, probably.
Yeah.
Eternal.
Accompanied by the order carriers of Lord Vishnu, Jamil boarded an airplane made of gold. Ooh, and he also get to fly first class. Passing through the airways, he went directly to the executive lounge. No, he went directly to the abode of Lord Vishnu, the American Express Platinum Lounge. The Lord Vishnu, who is the husband of the goddess of fortune. Ajamil was a Brahmin who, because of bad association, had given up all Brahminical culture and dharmic principles. Becoming most fallen, he stole, drank, and performed other abominable activities.
Yeah, we're getting a little recap.
He even kept a prostitute. Thus, he was destined to be carried away to a hellish planet by the order of the carriers of Yamaraj. But he was immediately rescued simply by a glimpse of the chanting of the holy name of Narayan. Prabhu, I can still relate to this story.
Okay.
It's sad how I can relate to this story, but I can. Therefore, one who desires freedom from material bondage should adopt the process of chanting and glorifying the name, fame, form, and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, at whose feet all the holy places stand. One cannot derive from the proper benefit from the methods such as pious atonement, speculative knowledge, meditation, and mystic yoga, because even after following such methods, one takes the fruit of activities again, unable to control his mind, which is contaminated by base qualities of nature, namely passion and ignorance. This is it. The two lower gunas own us.
So we're getting, I assume it's Sukadeva Goswami speaking at this point.
Yeah.
But we're kind of getting, okay, here's the theme of the chapter again, right? Is that there's lots of Vedic literature out there, and it presents different practices and different ideas, pious atonement, jnana for developing detachment, meditation, and mystic yoga. But these things do not purify the heart in the same. They're steps forward. They're positive. They're beautiful. They can be beautiful, positive steps forward, but they're not going to go right to the very root of material desire the way that bhakti does.
Yeah. We're going to finish this chapter. We got 2 more verses. Because this very confidential historical narration has the potency to vanquish all sinful reactions. One who hears or describes it with faith and devotion is no longer doomed to hellish life. Regardless of his having a material body and regardless of how sinful he may have been, indeed, the Yamadutas who carry out the orders of Yamaraj do not approach him even to see him. After giving up his body, he returns home back to Godhead, where he is very respectively received and worshipped.
So
While
what do we call this at the end of the chapter? Comes often.
What?
You know, the false shruti. The fruit of listening, right? It's to encourage us to hear this and meditate on it. It's saying the result of hearing this pastime that we just heard, all right, is if you get all the benefits that Ajamila got himself just by hearing about him, right? You become freed from having to go to the hellish existence, and ultimately you're delivered, into the spiritual realm.
While suffering at the time of death, Ajamila chanted the holy name of the Lord, and although the chanting was directed towards his son, he nevertheless returned home back to Godhead. Therefore, if one faithfully and inoffensively chants the holy name of the Lord, where is the doubt that he will return to Godhead?
No doubt.
Boom. That's it. That ends the chapter.
That's the end of the chapter.
All right.
But we're not done yet. There's going to be one more chapter still on this topic. And I believe the Yamadutas are next chapter. They're going to go to speak to Yamaraj and say, what just happened? Right?
Yeah.
You just chant one time and that's it? For real? Is that how things work around here? So we'll get to hear that conversation.
Okay, great.
Mara-G, got any takeaways today?
Yeah, I got some good ones today. Pass your desires through the filter of the buddhi.
Okay. Reasoning.
Through the filter of the buddhi.
Intelligence comes from absorbing the mind and wisdom.
Yeah.
The trained intelligence walks with the soul.
Oh, okay.
Train your booty.
Right. No, right. I don't need that. It's cute.
Control the senses to hear the direction of the supersoul.
There we go.
Beware of being attracted to people who aren't good for us.
Attracted to the booty.
Step up to the plate or live a life of regret.
Yeah, I like that one, huh? T-shirt time.
Yeah. The material world can take us away like a riptide.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. What a current.
Real success is modifying our desires.
It's not. It's part of being successful, I think.
Raghunath didn't say that, so it's not so important.
Set an intention to give up I, me, and mind.
So I'd set the intention.
Set an intention. The power of intention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And reel in that kite.
Oh, okay.
Thanks everybody for joining us. Welcome to Texas. I'm going to take you guys on a little tour. We're supposed to be making me lunch.
Texas.
Texas, people.
What kind of crops they growing over there, Raghu?
Cow corn.
Excuse me?
Cow corn.
Any rattlesnakes out there?
Yeah, we got rattlesnakes here. Yeah, just little worms. We don't mess with them much.
Are you wearing cowboy boots, Raghunath? Just tell the truth.
I wish.
You miss your pickup truck right now, though. I know that.
I do. I do. Got some good pickup trucks on this trip, some good tractors.
Look at Mara silently waiting at home for Raghunath's return.
Waiting. Oh, yeah.
It looks like some hay barrels over there by that billboard or something.
There, it is.
Got some hay over there? Is that hay?
Yeah.
What's the hay doing there? What's that there for? You see, I don't know these kind of things, like why the hay is sitting over there.
Look at these. We got sunflower. We got wild sunflowers growing there.
Ooh.
Any armadillos?
I didn't see any armadillos yet.
Do the European people know about armadillos? Do they have them over there?
I don't know if they have armadillos.
European
They killed
people? Any armadillos over
Europeans
there?
killed everything. You find a good bear over there, mountain lions.
Speaking of which, I just saw a bear a few days ago.
And yeah,
Really?
I saw a bear the other day.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A big one.
On the property?
No. Sort of closer to
Shit.
Bobby's house.
This dude was getting nervous. On the property? Where? Yeah, it was in your bed. Because
I don't live there, you do.
It was eating porridge in the cafe.